right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Free. I'm Ryan, and I'm the pastor here, and it is so good to be with you all on another Saturday evening here in Denver, Colorado. And to all of you joining us online, welcome. We're glad you're part of this community, and you are. I remind you all every week, you are part of this community, wherever you're joining us from, whatever state you're joining us from. Even if it's later in the week, we're glad you're here and part of us.
Yep, absolutely.
Now, to remind y'all, we are a community for addicts, loved ones of addicts, and spiritual refugees. And what we do here is break the silence of addiction and create space for healing, recovery, and spiritual connection. And on the count of three, I want you all to say all four words of what we don't do here. 1, 2, 3.
We don't do shame.
That was a little weaker. I'll ask you all later in the service. You can be a little more strong with that.
Francis would not be proud.
Yeah, Francis.
Francis is
here
not
tonight?
pleased
Yeah.
with us. Yep,
We'll get him there.
happy.
We'll get him. All right, y'all, a lot going on in the community right now. So, Noelle, tell us some of the things happening, and then we have a couple other people. It's going to be wild. Go ahead. Take it away.
It's going to be wild.
Oh, I need to say one thing first.
Why don't you go ahead?
For those of you that drove here, we have a parking lot in the back you can park in. There's also street parking, but if you use the street parking, please do not block a driveway. If you block a driveway, you might get towed. So we also have contracted with the Safeway just a half block away. It is literally a 90-second walk. I do it every week. And the first bank right there, you can park there. So if you're ever short on parking, that's what y'all are going to do.
Yep.
Okay, take it away.
Super convenient. First things first, if this is your first evening here at Free, we welcome you. We have welcome bags right outside this door here. They're in little paper bags, but there's some Wagon Coffee in there, a little bit about what we do here at Free. There's a free sticker and a little bit about Wagon Coffee and what they do. So please grab one on your way out if you do not already have one. And then also we have these Connect cards. So at our donation stations in the basket right when you first walk in, if you could grab a Connect card and fill that out so we could stay in contact with you, we would sure appreciate it. I think, do we have an announcement from Danny Colella?
Is Danny
with
Colella in the
team?
house? Danny,
Oh,
come
here he
tell us
comes.
about the tech
The
team.
Danny Colella. He is
And y'all, we've got some needs.
our director
Danny's
of
gonna tell
digital
us about some
content
needs.
here.
Do we have a little video too with this?
Yes, I think we do. All right, the Free Tech Team. So I'm Danny Colella, I'm the digital content director here. If you didn't know, a big part of our mission is reaching people all throughout the United States. We have people from multiple countries that watch this online that aren't as lucky as you that get to come and be here. And how do we do that? It takes all these cameras and all these amazing people in the back, but we only have 6 of us right now. And there's a lot of jobs that need done. So if you have any technical abilities, if you like computers, if you like sound, you don't have to have any experience. We have Rob here volunteering tonight for his first time. He doesn't know it, but he's willing to learn. So we really need people to step up that want to just serve and have that servant heart. You know, once a month, twice a month, we'll teach you everything you need to know, but this mission is bigger than just this space, and we need your help to keep reaching people exactly where they're at. So email on the screen or just come find me or somebody in the back if that's on your heart and you want to volunteer. Thank you.
Thank you, Danny. And I want to say Rob's first night at Free was last weekend. And so this weekend, he's volunteering on the video. So he is not a veteran. It's his second week here at Free, and he's already volunteering. So thank you, Rob. March 26th, we are having our next after-service party. This is going to be a black tie affair. We will have a live pianist, thank you, Darren, on site, and we'll be serving some dessert snack items. Free cafe will be open, serving espressos and lattes. It'll just be a great night to celebrate the Free cafe opening, get a little dressed up, and have some fun. So those it'll be the black tie affair on March 26th, right after service. So. Next up, we have our softball team is starting up again. If you guys were not part of our softball team last year, it was a lot of fun. It's $100, and the first evening, so on March 23rd here at 7 p.m., we will have a softball meeting. I don't think Brandon is here tonight, but Derek, where are you? You can reach out to Derek. Brandon Nelson's contact is also up here if you have any questions.
And by the way, that $100 covers your, we're getting new shirts made for the softball team. It covers the registration fee, and it's a long season. It's like all summer long. Are games every Sunday still? every Sunday.
Sundays are the games. Gosh, it was like 4.5, 5 months. You really got your money's worth. And Derek is sporting our last year's softball shirt, so you can see they were great. So that $100 goes to that. So March 23rd, 7 p.m. here. You can speak with Derek or reach out to Brandon for additional information, but hopefully we see you on the 23rd here at 7 p.m. Next up, we have our Sober Open Mic Night. We're teaming up with the Phoenix on this. It'll be March 22nd here from 7 to 9 p.m. Whether you're participating or you just want to be in the audience, you must register. So there's QR codes on every door. There's a flyer, and you can just take a picture of that and sign up. It takes, 90 seconds to do so. But we're calling all poets, singers, comedians to come and show them what free has. So hopefully y'all can sign up. But I think, is Vince here?
Vince is here. Vince is going to say a word about the Phoenix and why the registration is important. So help me welcome Vince.
Yes. How's it going, everybody? So my name is Vince Huseman. I am the music program manager at the Phoenix. I am 5 years sober. Thank you. So the Phoenix is a national nonprofit organization that helps people rise from the ashes of addiction by offering free community programming from CrossFit to yoga, rock climbing, mountain biking. We've got surfing in Orange County. Music lessons, jam sessions, art, basically anything that we can create sober community with. And it's all free to anybody that has at least 48 hours of sobriety. So we have locations from LA to Maine, so we have a lot of in-person programming. Our national hub is in Denver. We have a lot of live streaming programming as well. So I'm grateful to be here, grateful for Ryan and Danny and Tammy. This place is incredible. So I hope to see y'all on March 22nd for the Sober Open Mic Night. And as mentioned, it would be great if folks could sign up. So the why behind the registration is...
And that's for anyone, not just people performing. That's
Yes.
If you're coming that night, you need to register.
Thank you, yeah. So anybody that wants to attend, whether you're performing or not, the Phoenix collects that data, and that's how we continue to get funding, right? So grants and donations, and without that data, our doors wouldn't be open. So that's really gonna help us keep our programming free and continue to serve the community with free recovery support. If you are looking to perform, please show up here at 6 to put your name on the list. Darren will be there.
We got one, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, grateful to be here. Hope to see you all, Sober Open Mic Night, and yeah.
Thank you, Vince.
Thank you, Free.
It's going to be fun
Thank
to partner
you.
up on this one, dude.
Yep.
I'll take that from
Awesome.
you.
Thank you.
Are you sticking around? Yeah. So if you have questions about Sober Open Mic Night, you could talk to me or Vince or anyone on staff here. We'll fill you in. It's going to be all kinds of fun, and you do not have to be a professional. This is to have fun and lift one another up, so come showcase your talents, as Noel said. It's going to be all kinds of fun. All right, y'all, tonight we are doing a series wrap-up on this codependency series that we've been in for the last 4 weeks. But next week, we're starting a new series. Greg's in the house tonight. He's our guest storyteller next week to kick off the next series. It's called The Fight of Your Life, and we are going to address relapse and coming back from relapse. Take a look at the series video.
I don't wish to waste my life on futile matters, on the whisper of mist that is most men's days. For those who do, I say, do not concede to that of stone. The fight that is before us is but the calling to awaken one's soul. In the 17th chapter of St. Luke it is written, the kingdom of God is within man, not one man nor a group of men, but in us all.
All right, so that kicks off next week. We'll spend 4 weeks there. But before we get into anything, the way we start here on Saturday nights here at Free is with celebrations. We celebrate together. We believe that God celebrates with us. So you're going to have 3 minutes to lift up your celebration, whether it's a sobriety anniversary, a new job, coming back from relapse, a new baby being born, whatever it is, we want to celebrate it with you. So if you're in-house, just raise your hand. Derek will give you a mic. If you're online, just put your comment in. We want to celebrate with you. Get vulnerable with us. Let us in. We want to celebrate with you. Put it in the Facebook comments or the YouTube comments and be part of this community. So take 3 minutes and then we'll come back.
Hello world, wake me up to another good
Bill Alcoholic, 25 years sober on Tuesday.
All right, Bill. Way to go, buddy.
Got that smile upon my face, 'cause there's excitement in the chase. This I
I'm
know.
Daniel.
Yeah, I'm going for the ride and find myself, I am alive, and I soar. Still I run towards the wind and let the challenge draw me in, 'cause I want more. Oh, we are all looking for adventure. 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 Oh, wake up heart and wake up mind, and see the world is yours to find. And with every passing day there's more, calling you out to explore. Get up and go. There is joy found in the race, and I feel it in the place where I'm free. And I simply can't deny it, that I feel adventure calling out to me. Yeah, we are all looking for adventure. 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 We are all looking for And I'm living free, living free, living free, and I was meant to be. Living free, living free, living free, and I was meant to be. I'm living free, living free.
Ago, and I just got a position promotion offer from my work.
Way to go, Katie. Celebrating that with you. Saman Meyer is joining me up here, our community coordinator. Here's the reason Saman's joining me up here. Usually it's Tammy Canaday. Usually Tammy Canaday is in the house. She's actually in the house tonight. She's over here. But she has lost her voice.
Like, for real.
So she can't talk. She's reduced to a whisper. So she's here. She's just not joining me up here. We'll save that for a heart. Is that a prayer? We'll save that for heartaches.
That's for your family.
Well, she's pointing.
Yeah, sign
She's
language
pointing
now
to
that
her
she can't
family.
speak.
That is a celebration. We have her sister Val here and parents Nisi and Bill all the way from Omaha, Nebraska.
They're amazing.
And they usually join us online, but tonight it's in
I
person.
know.
So glad y'all are here.
Yeah.
All right, Saman, take it away with the online people.
Okay. Jana passed another class for school. Student aid reinstated. That's amazing.
All right, Jana,
Yeah.
let's celebrate that with you. We have Jeff Kostovich says, happy birthday to my little sister Maria. She is truly an angel among us. Jeff will celebrate that
Happy
with
birthday.
you. Happy birthday to your sister, the angel among us.
Carrie, I'm ready to start fighting for my life. Yeah. Yeah.
Carrie,
you're
good
worth
decision. It's worth it.
It. Yeah.
We'll celebrate that with you. Skylar says, I am 20 days clean today and just got approved for a new apartment that I move into with my boyfriend on Tuesday. I also just got a new job as an RA and I'm getting my CNA finally. My mom also told me she was proud of me the other day for the first time ever.
That's huge.
Awesome, Skylar.
Yeah.
We are celebrating that with you here
Yeah.
at Free. Glad you're part of this community.
Hallie, grateful for each new day and the progress I'm making daily adjusting after spinal surgery. We've been thinking about you. You've been in our prayers, Hallie.
Yes, Hallie, celebrating with you. Glad you're joining us tonight. Pamela says, grateful today as my sister and I packed up one of my dad's rooms. He passed away last June. Grief never leaves us, but today we are grateful for the memories we have, and we know he's proud of us all watching from above.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that
Yeah.
with us, Pamela. We're celebrating that with you.
Jason, I want to celebrate my 14-year-old son, Jason Jr., who came to stay with me permanently and got his D's and F's up to A's and B's. God is good.
Way to go, Jason Jr.
There you go. You know what that red dot means?
Tell us what the red dot
The
means.
red dot means that that's the last one.
Okay, so we're done.
We're done.
You're done.
Yeah.
I get to stay up here.
See ya.
You get to go sit. Oh, I'll do it for you. Thank you, Saman, for joining me up here. All right, y'all. Like I said, we're going to do a series wrap-up of Codependency tonight. So we did 4 weeks here, and we're going to wrap it all up tonight. Are you ready for this? Take a look at the video. All right, do y'all remember the Veery birds? V-E-E-R-Y? Veery birds are these tiny brown birds that live and nest primarily in the northern states and Canada. And these birds are absolutely fascinating. And I was told last week that I use the word fascinating a lot up here because I find so many things fascinating, and I want to share these fascinating things with you, and I hope you find them just as fascinating as I do. So stick with me. Now, there's this really great Netflix docu-series called Connected. And the first episode of Connected, I highly recommend this show, by the way, this docu-series on Netflix. In the first episode, the host partners up with this bird researcher. But see, he's not just any bird researcher. He is an expert in these little Veery birds. And his name is Chris. Now, several years ago, Chris set out to solve this mystery. Where do these little birds fly for the summer months? Well, we're getting there. We're getting there. He got together with his team, and they found a way to catch these little brown birds in the backwoods of Delaware, and then they found a way to track them, and when they started tracking them, they solved the mystery. These birds did fly south. In fact, they flew 4,000 miles south down to Brazil, where they hung out in the Amazon basin. But when they found this out, another mystery came to the surface. And that is, each year these birds were leaving their nest at different times. They were leaving Delaware at different times, and sometimes they would leave the nesting season in June, sometimes they would leave in July, and when they leave, it turns out it's a big deal. Because, see, the earlier these Veery birds leave, the less successful they are at raising their babies. So why leave early? Chris tested all kinds of hypotheses, and nothing was really making sense. But then Chris posed this question. He said, these birds are crossing the Gulf of Mexico at the peak of hurricane season. What if these birds changed when they left depending on how bad the hurricane season was going to be? And what he did is he looked over 20 years of data. And what he found was that the earlier the birds left in the summer, the worse the hurricane season was that fall. And the 20 years worth of data lined up perfectly. Wait a minute. You mean these little brown birds know about weather patterns and hurricane seasons? You mean they could predict the severity of the hurricane season? Now, in 2018, the well-researched meteorologists were predicting that the hurricane season was going to be below average. But Chris said, no, we're going to look to the birds for this. What are the birds saying? And it turns out the birds left their nesting early that year. What happened in 2018? June, normal. July, normal. August, normal. And then September and October hit. 8 hurricanes that year, including Category 4 Florence and Category 5 Michael. 2018 was one of the most active hurricane seasons on record. So as it turns out, these little veeries are better predictors of hurricanes than the well-researched meteorologists. How is that? Fascinating, isn't it? Is that not fascinating? These tiny birds with walnut-sized brains are this intuitive? And listen, y'all, it's not like we have answers. Well, here's how they know this. I mean, we can't point to the answers here. But is it possible that these veeries are so tuned in, so aware of what God is up to, what the divine energy is up to, what nature is up to, that they can sense when to leave and when to stay? Is it possible that they are so tapped into something bigger than themselves because their very lives depend on it? You see that if they lose their connection, if they lose that awareness, if they lose that tapping into, will they find themselves stuck in some Category 5 hurricane winds somewhere over the middle of the Gulf of Mexico, soon to be shark food? And you see, my brothers and sisters, what if you and I were so in tune with what God was up to in our lives? We were so connected spiritually. We had such a deep awareness of God's activity in our world that we moved together to the most life-giving places, the places of refresh and support because our lives depended on it. You see, when we talk about codependency, we're not talking about becoming independent. We're talking about that need that we have to depend on something bigger than us, something greater than us. And the best antidote we have is a greater tuned-inness, a greater connectedness, a greater awareness to God and each other and everything meaningful. Because, see, the truth is, I know that some of you are here tonight. Some of you are watching tonight or this week. And it feels like when it comes to your life, your relationships, you keep flying into these winds, these hurricanes. That when it comes to loving the addict in your life, it feels like you keep flying right into the eye of the hurricane and darkness is surrounding and you're asking yourself, how much longer can I hold on here? It feels like you're in battle for the very survival of your life, and you're asking yourself, man, like, I know I'm supposed to believe in God. I know I'm told that God is all around me, but God, where are you in all this? Where are you in these storms? So I want to turn to another fascinating story. Are you with me? This fascinating story comes from the book of Exodus. Now, Exodus is the second book of the Bible, the second book of the Hebrew Bible or the Old Testament. And remember early on in the series, in fact, the very first week, we started with Moses. Remember Moses' father-in-law, Jethro, came to him and said, dude, you're going to wear yourself out. You can't do it all. You have limits. We're going to turn back to Moses. This story comes from Exodus chapter 17, and it's a story about Moses and the Israelites being in battle with this tribe called the Amalekites. And the Amalekites are this brutal, violent tribe, and we're going to get to them in just a minute. But we have to remember something. The great leader Moses, he was called by God to go into Egypt where the Israelites were being held in slavery. And God said, go to Pharaoh, the king there, and tell him to let my people go. And after much hesitation and argument and debate, Moses finally goes. And after a lot of different events, Pharaoh finally lets the people go. And they're headed to what was called the Promised Land. It was a land flowing with milk and honey, very different than the land of Egypt where they were held as slaves. But see, before they got to the Promised Land, they were wandering in the desert, or some people say the wilderness. And they wandered there for many years. And see, the people, they start complaining to Moses, the Israelites who just came out of slavery. Moses, why'd you rescue us? There's no water here. We're going to die of thirst. Our kids are going to die. Our livestock are going to die. Moses, you should have just left us in Egypt. At least we had water there, even though we were slaves. And then God tells Moses to do this really stupid thing. God says, Moses, I want you to pick up that stick, that staff, and I want you to go over to that big rock, and I want you to hit the thing. And Moses, when you hit this rock, water's going to come gushing out of this rock, and it's going to quench the thirst of the people. And Moses says, no, God, that's stupid. Why would I do that? Man, the people are already against me. They already think I'm a failed leader. Now you want me to do something stupid like this? It's going to make me look foolish. After much hesitation and debate and argument, Moses finally picks up that stick, that staff, and he walks over and he hits that rock. And guess what happens? Water starts flowing, gushing out of this rock. And I give you that backstory to remind you that Moses has some history, some recent history of the God who is present, the God who provides, the God who looks out for them, the God who renews them. And so here they are, Moses and the Israelites. They're sitting back for a minute, taking a breather, drinking their fresh water. And the Amalekites, this violent, brutal tribe, they come in with this surprise attack. And hang with me here because this is where things get really interesting. Check it out. It's Exodus chapter 17, verse 18 through 14. The Amalekites came and attacked the Israelites at Rephidim. Now we have to pause there for just a moment. I know we're just one line in. I won't do it the whole way through, but we got to pause for just a minute. Because see that place, Rephidim? If you pull out your phone right now and you go to Google Maps and type that in, you're not going to find it. It's an unknown location. But Rephidim, it's an ancient Hebrew term because remember, the Old Testament is written in Hebrew. Rephidim literally translates to refresh and support. Let's keep going. Hold on to that. Moses said to Joshua, his sidekick, choose some of our men and go out to fight the Amalekites. Tomorrow I will stand on top of the hill with the staff of God in my hands. And y'all, let's just pause for one more moment. Because here Moses is, the same staff that he was saying, well, this is stupid. God, I ain't going to do it. The same staff that then he took and hit a rock and water gushed out. Here he is going up to the top of this hill because Moses hasn't let go of that staff. Moses is remembering that God is with him and that God saves and God acts. So Joshua fought the Amalekites as Moses had ordered. And Moses, Aaron, and went to the top of the hill. As long as Moses held up his hands, the Israelites were winning. But whenever he lowered his hands, the Amalekites were winning. When Moses' hands grew tired, they took a stone and put it under him and sat on it. Aaron and held his hands up, one on one side, one on the other, so that his hands remained steady till sunset. Then the Lord said to Moses, write this on a scroll as something to be remembered and make sure that Joshua hears it. Do you all see how tuned in they were? I mean, do you see how aware Moses was? It's like he says to the people, oh, I've been here. I've been here before. I've struggled for life before. I've stood in front of the king of Egypt and said, let my people go. I know what it's like to be in battle. I can hear him saying, look, y'all, I don't have all the answers for this. I just know I got to pick up this stick. I got to take this staff, and I've got to go up to the top of that mountain, and I don't know exactly how to explain it to y'all. Which, by the way, was exactly what it was like 3 years ago when we started free. Man, we didn't have all the data points. We weren't able to say, well, if we start this thing in our backyard, then we're going to grow to here, then we're going to grow to here, and this thing's going to happen. We just had this deep intuition, this deep calling to start a community for addicts, loved ones of addicts, and spiritual refugees. You know, it's all kind of like those little veery birds, isn't it? They may not have all the answers, but they do have a deep awareness, a connectedness, because their lives depend on it. And do you see how tuned in Moses' comrades were? I mean, they see Moses at the top of this hill. He's struggling to keep his arms up in battle. He's tired. He's exhausted. And they run up there and they hold his arms up. When they get up to the top, they get a stone and they put it under Moses because Moses is about to collapse. He's tired. He's exhausted. He's got nothing left. And they stand on each side of him and hold his arms up. And they take refuge in a God who offers refresh and support. You see, my brothers and sisters, are you accepting God's refresh and support in the midst of your battle? And by the way, in the midst of your battle, which story are you clinging on to? Is it that old story of defeat that just says, well, this is the way it is, nothing's ever going to change, so why bother? Are you clinging on to that old story of your mistakes, your past, the lingering shame? Does it define who you are? Are you most tuned into the story of your ego? The ego that says, man, you can do this on your own. You don't need them. You got this. I mean, aren't you glad Moses didn't stand on top of that hill and yell down to his homies coming up, no, y'all don't worry. I got this. Y'all could stay down there. I got this. Now, Moses was aware enough to recognize that he needed the support. And some of you have been there. Some of y'all did this before. I've done it. I've looked my comrades in the eyes and said, I'm good. I got this. And guess what happened? I wound up drunk again. For some of you, your ego of, I got this, is killing you. It's robbing you of everything. The battle of your addiction, the battle of your broken relationships, the battle of trying to control everyone and everything around you, the battle of trying to save someone you love that's drowning in addiction, the battle of isolation. And the thing is, your arms have already fallen. You're already losing the battle, and you're still trying to convince God and yourself and other people that you got this. No, you don't. You don't got this. You see, maybe it's time to get dialed into a new story. If you're in the midst of the storm, in the midst of battle, are you like Moses, able to look back and see God's hand at work in your life? And are you able to let that guide you in the present moment? And if you're in the midst of the storm and the hurricane and the eye, or you're in the midst of battle, are you able to see the stones that have been provided for you along the way, God's refresh and God's support? Do you recognize the support that has been given to you, the support that is being given to you? And by the way, who are the ones that come alongside you when you need it most? And they're the ones who hold your arms up in battle. Because you need these people. And you need to remember these people. Man, we saw that happen here time and time again when we moved into this new space, when we transitioned from the old space. Man, this community rallied around each other. Y'all supported each other. You held each other up. You held us up. And we're going to do it tonight for our brother Austin. You know, Austin has battled this disease of addiction for a long time now. And y'all know that a few weeks ago he was in a terrible car accident out in California. His car was burned. He suffered third-degree burns all over his body. He's still in the burn unit. And he's healing. His skin graft surgery went well. He's healing, but he's going to be there for several more weeks. And so in just a moment, I'm going to invite you all. There's a table in the back. We have a couple of different stations I'll explain in a moment. But just simply sign your name. We're going to send him these cards to remind him that God has not forgotten about him. God has not abandoned him. God is with him. We are with him. And we go through this stuff together, even when we get it wrong, because we don't do shame. You see, are you able to sit long enough and to get into some gratitude? Because you recognize that you might just be sitting in Rephidim, the place where the battle is intense, but it's also the place that offers refresh and support. And are you remembering all the times in your life that God has carried you? And how does the story end? Then the Lord said to Moses, write this on a scroll as something to be remembered and make sure that Joshua hears it. Because listen, y'all, it wasn't just for Moses. When God acts in your life, it's not just for you. It's so that you could take that story and pass it down to give hope to others, to give hope to the struggling. Are you taking your story and passing it down? Are you saying, hold on, my brother, hold on, my sister. God's got you. I know it doesn't feel like it right now, but God's got you. You got to hold on. So which stories do you choose to cling to? In the midst of battle, which stories do you cling to? Moses could have given up. He could have said, man, I'm tired of the battle. It's hard. I'm exhausted. I have nothing left. That's not the story he clung to. The story he was clinging to was the one of the God who acts. The story of the God who is present. The story of the God who offers refresh and support. So in just a moment, you're going to hear a song. It's going to play. The words will be on the screen. If you want to just sit and reflect, you're certainly welcome to do that. But we do have a couple of different stations set out. One, this one up here, it's got stones on it. I would invite you to come up and pick up a stone to remember that God is always with you, that God is always offering refresh and support. And then we have these, just a couple of sticky note pads up here, 3 of them with a Sharpie. Maybe you want to write down a name to remember the names of the ones who have stood with you, the ones who are standing with you, the ones who hold your arms up in battle. And I invite you to write it on a sticky note and just stick it to the stage. And after the service, we're going to pray over those names and pray over those people and give thanks to God for those people in your life. And then, like I said earlier, there's a table in the back. There's 7 cards out there for Austin. Noel wrote something at the top of those that, Austin, we love you. We're praying for you. We're anxious for you to get back home. And if you could, sign your name. And even if you don't have time to do it in these 3 minutes, after the service, sign your name, and we're going to send those cards off to Austin in the hospital in California to remind him that God is with him. So during the song, if you want to sit and reflect, you're certainly welcome to do so, or you can get up and move to one of the stations or 2 of the stations or all 3 of them. This time is yours. cards, I invite you to do so. But I don't want to cut our guest storyteller short. So feel free, if you're still up here, feel free to write on these. But for those of you that don't know, every single Saturday we have a guest storyteller in the house to share with us some of their experience. And by the way, to our online community, I'm glad you stuck with us for 3 minutes while a song was playing. We couldn't play that song because of copyright reasons, but I hope you stuck with us. I hope you enjoyed it and had time to reflect. But I want you all to help me welcome, so if we can get quiet again, maybe bring down the house lights so that people might find their seat. I want you all to help me welcome Tara Mastracchio. She is our new director of Free Kids and Family Empowerment. She's our guest storyteller tonight. Welcome, Tara. Except I should have worn my black shoes.
It's true.
We coordinated on black shirts, but not our shoes. All right, y'all. Well, man, y'all got all jumpy and loud during that 3 minutes. That was kind of fun, huh? We'll keep the notepads up here. And like I say, if you want to come up after the service, feel free to write a name. We'll pray over those names. Sign the cards in the back. Get you a stone. Remember that God's always with you. Speaking of God always being with you. So as you know, Alyssa is stepping down from this position. She handed this thing off to Tara, and there is not a better person we could have handed this thing off to than Tara. So I invited, we can clap for that. I said, Tara, come join me as a guest storyteller. Let the community get to know you a little bit. I know a lot of people know you because you're here every week, but let us get to know the deeper part. And so let's just start with... it's so fascinating that Tara got sober at the ripe old age of 18 years old. Her very first day of college, she got sober. Also college, she came out. And I want you to talk about this experience and where God was and all of that. Just give us the whole deal with it.
Okay. Well, as far as my journey with God more than anything else, I grew up in a place that was not safe. Mind, body, heart,
Might
spirit.
want to hold your mic up.
Oh, can I hear it? There you go.
There you go.
No one ever says they can't hear
And
me.
if you
I don't ever get that.
I've got to tell you to bring it back up.
All right. So where I grew up, it was a place that wasn't safe. Not mind, body, heart, or spirit. And what happened for me was by the age of 9, I had this, I called it the abyss, because it was just this big, empty, black hole I felt inside myself. And it was encompassing and lonely and dark, and it's how I felt at 9. And so by the age of 9, I was suicidal. I wanted out. All I knew was I just want out. I don't want to feel how I'm feeling. I don't want to be where I am. I don't want to be who I am. And I was starting to contemplate, like, how do I kill myself at the age of 9? And that, when I look at a 9-year-old, shocks me.
I have a daughter who's 9.
Yeah, that's kind of, yeah. And it's inconceivable when I look at one. Yeah. And so soon after that, also shocking, I was introduced to alcohol at the age of 9. And all of a sudden I used that. When I wanted out, I would just find alcohol. And it was my out. It was my solution. It was my savior. It kept me from killing myself. And it also...
That's interesting, right? That alcohol you describe as your savior.
Oh, yeah.
And then later this savior turns on you. But go ahead. Right?
It does, because by the time I was 14, I was a runaway as much as I could be, and left all the time. I was constantly running away, and basically all of a sudden I was ending up in hospitals. And by the age of 16, I was ending up in hospitals. And someone introduced me to 12-step programs at the age of 16, and by 18, I actually got sober. And I had 2 amazing gifts of sobriety. For one, I tried to fit everything into that great abyss I possibly could. I sports and attention and whatever I could, I fit into that. And nothing ever fit, and nothing ever filled it. Like, it would empty back out again and just, like, feel like sandpaper in my soul. And when I got sober, one of the gifts I got was I never knew that was a God-sized hole. Like, all of a sudden, I felt comforted, and I felt full and fulfilled and reassured, and something I'd been seeking and never knew that that's where I was going to find it. But I found a God in the program, and that became what I never knew I was looking for. Also, based on the 12 steps, I started to discover myself, and that's when I discovered my sexuality and figured out that I was gay, and all of a sudden, I was different again. You know, I just fit into the program, and then all of a sudden, I was different again, and that was a real challenge for me. And because I was a runaway at 14, I left a lot of my family behind, and they were reaching out to me, and I reached back. And in particular, my Nana, who's a head of her church, and who's an elder in the church, and she wrote back to me, and she said, "If you were my child, I'd be tempted to murder you because you'd be better off that way," as a response to my sexuality.
And we wonder why the suicide rate is so much higher in the gay community.
Yeah, and all of a sudden, like, I'd fit in, and then I was left out, and then I found a God, and then that God turned on me, and I just didn't know which way was up. And I had my first real true crisis of faith, a faith that didn't have a strong foundation. Like, I was barely getting it, and I felt like it got pulled out from under me. And I was that spiritual refugee, and I didn't know what to do with myself. And I am so thankful that I had, some recovery and some people holding me up, holding my arms and supporting me in the fact that I know that my sexuality is God-given. I know that it is a gift of my program. Like, I had to rely on that, or I never would have made it, and I had to believe that my pain had a purpose. I had to believe that God was in it.
Yeah, and not only, I'm glad we're talking about this, because what we often find when we get sober, I mean, I hear so many stories around this, including my own story. Not only was the booze or the drugs or whatever the addiction was a barrier between us and God, but we didn't know ourselves. Yeah. Like, we get to relearn ourselves. We're getting to know ourselves for the first time when we get into sobriety, when we start doing the hard inner work. Mm-hmm. So tell us, Tara, you said that you realized your pain had a purpose. So as you look back over your journey, where all do you see God?
I do believe that God is everything, and that whole God is everything, God is nothing. I truly do. And I think everything that I've walked through allows me to show up for somebody who shows up in my life. Like, there's 1,000 times I've seen, like, a newcomer walk back and forth outside of a gay meeting, unable to come in, just scared, and, like, really discovering themselves. I didn't know I was gay when I came into the program and came into recovery. And that somebody actually came to me and said, we got to talk. Because sometimes we know first, and sometimes others know first. And it was actually my first sponsor that came to me. And,
Oh, hold your mic up a little bit.
Oh, there we go. Oh, yeah, that is so different.
The tech team is going to thank me for this.
No problem. If you miss any part, ask me later. I'll just fill you in. The God is everything, and, like, it allows me to show up for people in a way I never knew. It allows me to see people's pain because it was a pain I experienced. It allows me to share my experience, strength, and hope in lots of areas. It allows me to see a 9-year-old and be like, oh, like, I need to spend some time with that kid. It allows me to see someone struggling with sexuality, struggling with whatever, and be like, okay, like, I can sit down and share. My pain has a purpose.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. Which is why, by the way, we want you working with our kids to see that pain, to see. Was that snapping I just heard?
There's a snap. I got a snap.
That's kind of like it's the millennial form of clapping. But you can see pain because you've been through it. So you can go to them and say, no, I've been there. I know what this is like. You got to hold on. It gets better. Yeah. Now, your grandma and your great aunt were killed in a car accident by a drunk driver. Tell us about that experience.
It was very hard for me to move out to Colorado from Rhode Island. If you can't understand me, add an R. We don't use them there. And I got a call late at night one night. It was 4/20, which is a day I do not like. And an 18-year-old girl who gone out getting drunk, skip school, get drunk all day. She and a 16-year-old passenger. In New England, the first warm day, everyone goes out. And my aunt drove my great aunt and my grandmother to get clam cakes and chowder at Aunt Carrie's, because that's what you do. And they were driving back, and a car had hit 4 parked cars on the way and crossed the double yellow line and hit my aunt's car head on. My great aunt was killed instantly. My grandmother was put in a coma. Now, this is not my Nana, it's the other one. And it took me a day and a half to get out to see her, and I was the last person to get there. I was the last grandchild that got there, and she held on long enough for me to say goodbye, and she passed a couple hours later. It was one of the most devastating losses. And the most beautiful thing was, I trust that God is everything, and I truly do. So the person who killed 2 members of my family got sentenced to prison and would share in high schools. And I have to trust that there's some high school sophomore out there that needed to hear that story. That like God was working it out in that big giant chess game, moving all the pieces around however he or she needs to, and worked it out so that pain had a purpose too.
God is everywhere and in everything, and I love how you describe it as trusting the process, even with our deepest pain.
Yeah.
And Tara, let people know, I didn't give much of your background. You have led DARE programs. You have been, I'm going to screw up your title. Was it Lieutenant, Sheriff?
Sergeant.
Sergeant in the police department for many years. You worked with kids. You've worked as a resource advocate for kids in high schools.
School resource officer. Yeah.
I mean, this is kind of, your passing on of the healing is like been part of your life work for many, many years now.
It's been a lot of different directions, or a lot of different hats in the same direction, or whatever you want to call it. Like, for some reason, kids have been a part of my journey throughout. And it's, I get to have a very different dynamic, I guess, with them. I've been a coach, and I've been a cop in a school, and I've been, the DARE officer, or I've been...
Do y'all remember DARE, by the way? Yeah, who still has the t-shirt? Come on now.
So yeah, it's been amazing, and it just always brings me back there to be able to share a bit of myself in some different way.
And you've been sober for how many years now?
30.
30 years sober, and it's a great thing. We should celebrate that.
That's a humbling number, I gotta say.
But there's a danger in it, right? The danger is that we look at Tara and say, "Oh my goodness, she must have it really together."
Yeah.
But there are still days, there are still seasons, if we're honest, where Tara's not doing so well.
No.
Tara needs people to come along her and hold her arms up in the midst of battle.
And I'm horrible at it. I am horrible at it. It is one of my greatest challenges. The longer I go in recovery, the harder it is for me to show my vulnerability.
To show what?
To show that I still have broken pieces.
Yeah.
But
you told me the key to it was this word that I love. Vulnerability.
Vulnerability.
What's it look like for you?
For me, it's that the moment of just allowing somebody to show up, showing them where I'm at, and I can breathe again. It's like that feeling of the God-sized hole getting filled up, like I can breathe again. It's that feeling of allowing someone to see me, to really see me. And it's hard. It's hard to walk in when I'm supposed to have the answers, saying, I got some cracks, and I got some breaks, and I gotta, I need some other people to show up, and that's a challenge. I've found my greatest challenges to be my greatest opportunities, hence my greatest gifts. But showing up for that process it's not that easy, and it almost gets harder. It's easy to come in broken in a day, or a week, or a month sober. It gets harder when you walk in broken at 30 years.
Yeah, which is, I think, why we say we do it one day at a time, right? Like 30 years, yeah, that's cool, that's special, but we're still
walking it.
You're still with the new person doing it one day at a time.
Yeah.
Tara, what word of hope would you give to people? The ones watching right now in their living rooms, the ones here tonight, barely hanging on, battling the bottle, loving the loved one in their life who's battling addiction. What word of hope would you give?
Like most people up here, I'll make it more than a word. But the idea is to show up for what lets you breathe. Show up for what, you know the feeling. You know the feeling of that exhale. If it's being vulnerable, then do that. If it's, going to 12-step, if it's making the call, if it's letting people hold you, whatever lets you breathe, like, do that.
That's a good word. Thank you, Tara Mastracchio, for being with us tonight. If you guys want to talk to Tara more tonight, she's going to be hanging around here. But next week, you won't see her in here because she's going to be with the kids in the back. All 30 of them, or however many there are back there. Tara, so glad you're with us tonight. Thank you for sharing some of your story. Like I said, she's going to stick around. If you want to talk to her more and get to know her more, she's hanging out. So the way we end things here at Free is we, just like we do with celebrations, we share our heartaches together. Because I remind y'all each week, you are not created to carry these burdens alone. They're too heavy. We weren't created that way. We weren't created to walk a journey alone. We were created to walk it with other people. And when you're exhausted and tired and have nothing left to give, to have people, community come around you and lift you up. And so that's what we do with these heartaches. We have a prayer team here at Free that prays for y'all throughout the week. We lift y'all up. And I know in this community, y'all text each other and Facebook message each other and tweet each other. Do people still tweet? People still tweet. Y'all lift each other up. You do it better than any community I've ever seen, and I'm so grateful for that. So what we do is we take 3 minutes, and again, if you're joining us online, this is your opportunity to tap into that vulnerability, to let a community in. I know it can feel awkward to put that thing in a YouTube comment or a Facebook comment, but we want to lift you up. We want to stand with you and for you. And if you're here, take 3 minutes. Derek will again pass around the mic, and we lift one another up. So give us your heartache and let us lift it. And God always joins with those who are broken. Take 3.
Hi, my name is Sean. I'm here from Pennsylvania, and I just moved back. I need prayers for me, just because I'm fighting a codependent relationship that's 40 years long, and I'm having the hardest time just pulling out of it. And I've been sober for 3.5 years, thankfully.
Prayers for you, Sean.
Yeah, thank you, Sean. The codependency, it's a real thing, isn't it? Many of us battle it. Thanks for sharing and being vulnerable. All right, Noelle, we're here to join with the online community.
We're here. Would you mind if I just say just a quick prayer myself?
I would love for you to.
I would love for us to pray for my sweet friend, Melissa, over here. She's got 28 days sober, and she's in the trenches of this thing, but I just want her to know that she has this community behind her, and she's not alone. So if we could pray for Melissa, I would sure appreciate it.
Melissa held my arms up earlier. My mouth is so dry because I took an allergy pill, and I said, I need some candy or something, and she overheard me say
God
it.
bless
She
that
handed
woman.
me this piece of cinnamon candy. Thank you, Melissa. I'm so glad you're here tonight. And I know that first 30 days is really rough, so surround yourself with the people here. They'll love on you. Glad you're here.
You're not alone, sister. All right, let's get to that online community.
All right, let's do it. It'll be on the screen.
Christy, prayers for Jen's broken heart. She lost a dear friend this week. She loved him like a brother. She helped him bring her back to church and God's love, and he was always there to hold her up. Prayers for Jen and Christy.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that's tough.
All the way out in North Carolina. We miss y'all. We understand you're coming out here in September.
They're wonderful.
They are
love
wonderful.
them here.
MJ says, prayers for my grandson who will be 18 in a few days. I can't believe that I knew her grandson when he was just a wee little boy. He needs to find his path in life. Also for my girlfriend who is starting her journey to fight cancer. MJ, prayers for your grandson, prayers for your friend fighting cancer, prayers for you holding things up and people up. Thank you for sharing that with us.
All right, Carrie. Praise Jesus. He is so good. I'm currently homeless from fleeing an abusive relationship, but I do have an available bed for me at a local sober living home due to amazing donations from strangers. But I need to rehome my 2 dogs before I can go. Please pray they find a loving home, that I am able to have a bed, and bless those who donated to a complete stranger. Prayers for you, Carrie. Hopefully your dogs find a home. I have a feeling they will.
They can live with you, Noelle, right? You like dogs.
Yeah, sure. You know, my parents don't have dogs at their house. They're here tonight, and they've got a big house with a great big backyard.
They're going to pray about that. Jen Deckard says, this has been a difficult week for me. I lost a very dear friend on Thursday to Alzheimer's. He was just diagnosed in 2017, my age, devastated, and today finding out we are faced with having to put one of our rescue dogs down, behavioral euthanasia tomorrow. My heart is heavy. I feel weighed down and unable to breathe. Praying for God's grace. Jen, we are praying that with you, that the lightness comes in and the heaviness isn't surrounding. So sorry you're going through this time. We're holding you up in prayer. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Stephen from Pennsylvania. 4-hour surgery to remove cancer from right ear. Microscopic results not back yet. We'll find out this week if another surgery is necessary. Stephen, we're praying for you, and we're glad you're part of this community.
Absolutely. You know where Stephen is from?
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania.
Okay.
He joins us each week from Pennsylvania.
I introduced him as Stephen from Pennsylvania.
You did?
So that's...
I was just seeing if they were paying attention. All right, Noelle, thank you for joining me up here. It's always good to have you up here. Thank you all for being vulnerable in this community and letting people in, letting people carry you, letting God carry us. So I do want to let you know that part of being carried along the way is the way we're carried here. One of the ways, I should say, not the only way. One of the ways is through your donations to keep this thing moving forward, to keep the mission thriving of breaking the silence of addiction. So right where Derek is standing, you'll see a giving box. It's placed there to easy access. There's also one just outside of these doors. There's another giving box, and it's your generous giving that keeps things moving forward here. It keeps us going. And I know for many of you all, this is a spiritual practice. You have prayed through this, and we definitely appreciate it. We can't thank you enough for it. I know it's sacrificial when you give, and so we take that seriously here. We recognize that it's sacred. Outside of those 2 boxes, though, if you feel called to give, I did share some breaking news last week, and I want to share it with you again. This thing is going all through the month of March. Take a look. Preliminary reports suggest that the internal temperature at Free could reach 183.7 degrees by mid-July.
Whoo, it's hot.
In fact, when we moved in here, so many of you were asking the question, when is AC coming? Because we know July is coming and it's going to be hot. And so the good news is AC is coming to Free air conditioning, but we are going to need your help. Now here's the deal. We had a very generous donation, an offer of all the equipment and materials to get AC throughout the building. It is being donated to us, but we have to cover the installation costs, which is going to be just over $50,000. So we are starting the Keep Free Cool campaign, and we want to raise as much money as possible through the month of March to go towards that $50,000 installation cost to get air conditioning throughout the building. So here's what we're asking. Give what you can. If you care about staying cool and free and not sweating to death, give what you can. A small amount, a big amount, any amount helps. If you write a check, just write in the memo, Keep Free Cool. If you give online, which is at freespiritualcommunity.com/give, you can give there, and just again in a memo put Keep Free Cool. Because by this summer we want Free to be cool in here. We want to provide a space. It's our mission to create space for healing, recovery, and spiritual connection. That's what we're doing together. We are together breaking the silence of addiction, and then there's all these logistical pieces that come with that, like getting air conditioning. So we want you to be a part of it. We're doing this campaign through the month of March, where we hope to get as much money as possible towards that $50,000 that it's going to take to install air conditioning. Thank you so much for being a part of this. So y'all, listen, we have heat here, as you can tell. It's nice and warm in here, and it's March. July is coming. We don't have air conditioning here yet. It's coming, but y'all blew me away last week because we had this very generous donation of a $10,000 gift, and this person said, let's see if we can match it. I said, all right, let's do this thing. I left here last Saturday night. By the time I got home and opened up Subsplash and received a couple of emails, we were totally matched by like 2 hours into the evening, which was so cool. So thank you all for being a part of it. I think last I checked today, we were just around 26,000 raised so far. So what that means is we'll be able to AC about half of this side of the room, and it's going to be this half because this is where I stand. Y'all in the back are going to be hot and sweaty. Just kidding, we're going to cool down the whole thing, but if you want to give to that campaign, we'd be so grateful. This will go through the month of March, so we're not going to just keep hitting y'all up on this campaign forever and ever and ever, just a couple more weeks. But if you want to give to that, we would be most grateful. Man, it's good to be with y'all tonight. Shall we close in a prayer? So I invite you to open up your hands if you feel inclined. The opening of the hands, it's a sign of openness, because oftentimes we live like this. And when we open our hands, we're inviting God in. We're saying, God, we don't know everything. We don't have all the answers. So God, we're inviting you in to form us, shape us, mold us. So take a big, deep breath. Invite God in. And exhale, and invite God in again. And let's pray the Lord's Prayer together. If you don't know the Lord's Prayer, it will be on your screen. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. My free brothers and sisters, this week may you remember in the midst of your battle, in the midst of the storm, that God is always with you, that God always offers refresh and support. And remember those people who come alongside you and hold you up. And if you want to come back up here and write down their names, we will pray over these names and give thanks and gratitude for these people in your life and the life of this community. This week, may you go in all kinds of grace and peace. And we'll see you next week.